Good evening, my dear friend. As this day comes to an end, and you find yourself in the quiet sanctuary of your room, I want you to know that you are not alone in whatever you are carrying tonight. The soft glow of your bedside lamp, the gentle hush that has settled over your home, the way your breath naturally begins to slow as evening wraps around you like a familiar blanket. These are not accidents. These are invitations from a God who knows that your soul needs rest, who understands that your heart has been working overtime, and who is waiting with open arms to receive everything you have been trying to manage on your own. Tonight is not the end of your story. It is the sacred pause where heaven meets earth, where your weariness meets his strength, and where the burdens of today can finally find their rightful place in the hands of the one who never so sleeps. Before we begin this journey together into his peace, I would love to know where you are joining me from tonight. Are you watching from a cozy bedroom in Texas, a quiet apartment in New York, or perhaps somewhere across the ocean where dawn is already breaking? Please let me know in the comments below. And if this time of prayer brings comfort to your heart, would you take a moment to hit that like button and subscribe? Your presence here matters. And together we can create a community of souls who find their rest in him. Now let us walk together into this sacred space where surrender becomes our pathway to peace. There is something about the end of the day that reveals the true weight we have been carrying. I remember countless nights when my head would hit the pillow, but sleep remained elusive because my mind refused to stop its relentless churning. The shoulders that had carried the stress of meetings and deadlines now ached with a deeper fatigue. The temples that had pounded with tension throughout the day continued their rhythmic reminder of all that remained undone. This is the hour when we can no longer outrun the accumulation of our efforts, when the adrenaline that pushed us through traffic and difficult conversations finally subsides, leaving us face to face with our own limitations. Today began with such promise, did it not? The morning alarm that signaled a fresh start, the coffee that tasted like possibility, the mental list of accomplishments we would surely check off before sunset. Yet here we are, hours later, and that list has somehow grown longer instead of shorter. The emails that demanded immediate attention multiplied like rabbits in our inbox. The phone calls we intended to make were pushed aside by urgent interruptions. The family time we promised ourselves was sacrificed to the altar of just one more task that could not wait until tomorrow. The weight is not just in our minds, but in our bodies. Our necks carry the tension of difficult conversations we navigated. Our backs bear the stress of financial pressures that seem to have no clear solution. Our hands are tired from typing, from reaching, from trying to grasp control over circumstances that often feel like trying to hold water in our palms. The very air in our lungs seems heavier tonight, as if we have been breathing against resistance all day long. But perhaps the heaviest burden is the one we carry in our hearts. The guilt over the patience we lost with our children when they needed us most. The regret over the harsh words we spoke to our spouse when exhaustion made kindness feel impossible. The disappointment in ourselves for falling short of the standards we set for being human when we desperately wanted to be superhuman. These invisible weights press down on us as we prepare for bed, whispering that we should have done better, been stronger, managed more effectively. Tonight, as we acknowledge this weight together, I want you to know that carrying these burdens is not a sign of failure, but of caring deeply. Your fatigue is evidence of your investment in this life, in the people you love, in the responsibilities you take seriously. The very fact that you feel this weight means that you have been showing up even when showing up was difficult. You have been present even when presence required sacrifice. You have been trying even when trying felt like pushing a boulder uphill. This weariness is not your weakness, but the proof of your strength, stretched to its very limits. When the sun sets and darkness begins to settle around us, there is a particular kind of loneliness that can creep into even the most crowded homes. It is in these quiet hours that our struggles seem to magnify, echoing in the silence like whispers in an empty cathedral. The problems that felt manageable during the busy daylight hours now loom larger, casting shadows that stretch across our peace of mind. This is the time when anxiety likes to visit, arriving uninvited and making itself at home in the spaces where exhaustion has worn our defenses thin. I have spent countless nights scrolling through my phone, seeking some form of connection or distraction from the thoughts that refuse to quiet. The blue light illuminating my face while the rest of the world seemed to sleep peacefully. Social media feeds filled with curated happiness vacation photos and success stories that only amplified my sense of falling behind. Everyone else appeared to have their lives figured out, while I lay there, wrestling with doubts and fears that felt too heavy to carry alone. The isolation is not just about being physically alone, but about feeling uniquely burdened. Surely I would think I am the only one lying awake at 2 a.m. wondering how the bills will be paid this month. Certainly no one else is staring at the ceiling, replaying every mistake they made today, analyzing each conversation for signs of disapproval or disappointment. The darkness has a way of convincing us that our struggles are singular, that our fears are evidence of some fundamental flaw in our character. When our energy reserves hit empty, the problems that require solutions feel insurmountable. The project deadline that seemed achievable this morning now appears impossible, given everything else demanding our attention. The relationship conflict that needs addressing feels too complex to navigate when we can barely remember what we had for lunch. Our mental bandwidth, already stretched thin throughout the day, simply cannot accommodate one more decision, one more worry, one more responsibility. This is the hour when our minds begin to spiral, when one anxious thought leads to another, until we find ourselves trapped in a maze of what-if scenarios. What if the doctor calls with bad news about those test results? What if the economy takes another downturn and our job becomes expendable? What if we are failing our children in ways we cannot even see? What if the best years of our lives are behind us, and all that remains is a slow decline into irrelevance? The exhaustion makes everything feel more dire, more urgent, more impossible to solve. Problems that might have clear solutions during the light of day become tangled knots that our tired minds cannot unravel. We find ourselves caught between the crushing need to fix everything immediately and the crushing realization that we do not possess the energy or resources to fix anything at all. This is the loneliness of the overwhelmed soul, the isolation of the person who has reached the end of their own strength and discovered that it was not enough. But there comes a moment often in the deepest part of our struggle when a different kind of clarity begins to emerge. It is the sacred recognition that we were never designed to carry all of this alone. The human heart, for all its strength and resilience, has limitations that are not flaws in our design, but features of our humanity. We were created for partnership with the divine, for a relationship where our weakness becomes the perfect canvas for His strength to be displayed. I remember the night when this truth first penetrated the fog of my overwhelming circumstances. I had been lying in bed for hours, mentally cycling through every problem that demanded my attention, every relationship that needed repair, every financial obligation that seemed impossible to meet. My mind was like a computer with too many programs running, slowing everything down to a crawl and threatening to crash entirely. It was then that I heard, not with my ears, but with my spirit, the gentle invitation of Matthew. Chapter 11, verses 28 through 30. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." The revelation was both simple and profound. I had been operating under the assumption that being a responsible adult meant carrying every burden, solving every problem, and managing every detail of my life through sheer willpower and determination. But in that moment of desperate exhaustion, I began to understand that true responsibility might actually involve recognizing the limits of my own capacity and deliberately choosing to place my trust in one whose capacity knows no bounds. This is not about abandoning our responsibilities or becoming passive in the face of challenges. It is about understanding the difference between our part and God's part in this life we are living together. My part involves showing up with intention, making wise decisions with the information I have, treating others with kindness and integrity, and working diligently toward my goals. God's part involves orchestrating circumstances beyond my control, providing resources I could never manufacture on my own, opening doors that no human effort could budge, and weaving even my mistakes into a pattern of purpose I cannot yet see. The act of surrender begins with the simple acknowledgement that my shoulders were not built to carry the weight of the entire universe. When I try to control outcomes that belong in God's hands, I am like a child, attempting to lift a car, straining against a load that was never meant for me to bear. But when I consciously choose to place each worry, each fear, each uncertain circumstance into His capable hands, something miraculous begins to happen. The burden does not necessarily disappear, but it finds its rightful place with the one who has both the wisdom to understand it completely and the power to address it perfectly. Tonight, as we practice this sacred act of surrender together, I want to walk you through a simple but powerful process. Take each concern that has been weighing on your heart and name it specifically in your mind. Instead of carrying a vague sense of anxiety, identify exactly what you are worried about. The medical appointment next week, the difficult conversation you need to have with your boss, the financial pressure that keeps you awake at night, the relationship that seems to be drifting in the wrong direction. Now, with intention and faith, visualize yourself placing each of these concerns directly into the hands of God. See yourself literally lifting the weight of that financial stress and placing it into hands that are strong enough to bear it. Picture yourself taking that worry about your child's future and setting it down at the feet of the one who loves your child even more than you do. Feel the physical relief in your shoulders as you stop trying to carry what was never yours to carry in the first place. As you practice this sacred release, something beautiful begins to happen in the quiet spaces of your soul. The peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, starts to settle over your spirit, like morning dew covering a meadow. It does not arrive with fanfare or drama, but rather as a gentle wave of calm that seems to flow from some deep, eternal spring. Your shoulders, which have been hunched with tension for hours or perhaps days, slowly begin to release their grip on stress. Your jaw, clenched tight from the day's pressures, gradually relaxes into its natural position. This is not the temporary relief that comes from distraction or entertainment, but the profound rest that emerges from alignment with divine order. When we stop fighting against our own limitations and instead lean into the unlimited resources of heaven, our entire being begins to remember what it feels like to truly rest. Your heartbeat, which may have been racing with anxiety just moments ago, settles into a steady rhythm of trust. Your breathing naturally deepens without any conscious effort, as if your body is finally receiving permission to let go of the hypervigilance it has been maintaining. The mental static that has been buzzing in the background of your thoughts begins to quiet like a radio finally finding a clear station after hours of interference. The worries that felt so urgent and demanding just minutes ago start to lose their grip on your attention. They do not vanish entirely, but they transform from emergency sirens into simple items on a list that can be addressed tomorrow with fresh energy and divine guidance. This transformation is not something you create through willpower or positive thinking, but something you receive as a gift when you align yourself with God's design for your life. Just as plants grow during the night hours, when no one is watching, your faith grows stronger in these quiet moments of surrender. Trust muscles that may have atrophied through months of trying to control everything yourself begin to strengthen through the simple act of releasing control to the one who holds the universe in his hands. In this space of divine peace, you begin to experience a shift in perspective that changes everything. The problems that seemed impossible to solve when viewed through the lens of your own limited resources now become opportunities for God to demonstrate his faithfulness. The relationships that felt damaged beyond repair become candidates for the kind of supernatural healing that only divine love can accomplish. The financial pressures that threaten to crush your spirit become invitations to witness provision that comes from sources you never could have imagined. This is the sacred space where miracles are not dramatic displays of divine power, but gentle transformations of the human heart. The miracle is not necessarily that all your problems will be solved by morning, though God certainly has the power to do so. The miracle is that your perspective changes from panic to peace, from desperation to expectation, from isolation to partnership with the divine. You begin to understand that God's delays are not his denials, but his careful preparation of the perfect solution in the perfect timing. As this peace settles deeper into your spirit, the promises of God begin to feel less like distant hopes and more like present realities. The night that once felt threatening now becomes a sanctuary where divine protection surrounds you like an invisible fortress. Psalm 121 verse 4 reminds us that he who watches over Israel will neither slumber nor sleep. While your body prepares for the rest it desperately needs, the God of the universe remains alert and active on your behalf. Think about this remarkable truth for a moment. As you close your eyes tonight and surrender to sleep, legions of angels are stationed around your home, around your family, around every person you love. These heavenly beings do not require rest, or breaks, or shift changes. They maintain their protective watch throughout the night, ensuring that you can sleep in safety while divine forces work on your behalf in the spiritual realm. But God's activity during your sleeping hours extends far beyond protection. This is the time when he orchestrates circumstances you could never arrange, softens hearts you could never reach, and prepares solutions you could never conceive. While you rest, divine strategies are being implemented across the earth. The person who has the power to open the door you need may be experiencing a change of heart in their own midnight hour. The resource that will meet your financial need might be moving through channels you do not even know exist. The healing your body requires could be activating at the cellular level as restorative sleep does its supernatural work. Tomorrow morning will arrive with fresh mercies according to Lamentations, chapter 3, verses 22 and 23. The compassions of the Lord never fail and are new every morning. The problems that feel so overwhelming tonight will be met with tomorrow's grace, tomorrow's wisdom, and tomorrow's portion of divine strength. You are not expected to solve tomorrow's challenges with today's energy or address future problems with present resources. When you wake in the morning, you will not be the same person who laid down tonight. Sleep itself is a miracle of restoration that science can observe but never fully explain. Your brain will have processed and filed away the experiences of today. Your body will have repaired and rejuvenated itself at levels too deep for consciousness to detect. Your spirit will have been ministered to by the very breath of God, receiving the kind of renewal that only comes through surrendering control to divine care. The decisions that feel impossible tonight will be clearer in the morning light. The relationships that seem hopelessly tangled will present new possibilities for reconciliation and understanding. The financial pressures that appear insurmountable will reveal pathways forward that your tired mind cannot currently see. This is not wishful thinking, but the reliable pattern of how God works in the lives of those who trust Him with their deepest concerns. Tonight, I make this declaration with you and for you, dear friend. Tonight, we choose peace over anxiety. Tonight, we choose trust over control. Tonight, we choose to rest in the faithfulness of a God who has never failed to provide for His children. I place my financial worries into your hands. Lord, knowing that you own the cattle on 1,000 hills and that your resources are limitless, I release my concerns about my health into your care, trusting that you are the God who heals and restores. I surrender my anxiety about my children's futures to your wisdom, believing that you love them even more than I do, and that your plans for them are good. I choose to stop carrying the weight of relationships that need healing, placing each broken connection into your hands for supernatural restoration. I release my grip on career concerns and professional pressures, trusting that you will guide my steps and open the doors that need to be opened. I place my fears about the future into your eternal perspective, knowing that you see the end from the beginning and that your timing is always perfect. As I prepare for sleep, I receive your promise of protection over my family, my home, and everyone I love. I trust that angels are encamped around us, that your presence fills this space, and that nothing can touch us except what passes through your loving hands first. I believe that while I sleep, you are working all things together for my good, because I love you and am called according to your purpose. May peaceful dreams visit your sleep tonight. May your rest be deep and restorative. May you wake tomorrow morning with renewed strength, fresh hope, and clear direction for the day ahead. May every member of your family experience the same divine protection and peace that is covering you right now. May the challenges of tomorrow be met with supernatural grace and wisdom that you can't imagine from your current vantage point. I want to encourage you to make this practice of surrendering to God before sleep a regular part of your nightly routine. There is something powerful about consistently bringing your day to a close in His presence, releasing your worries into His care, and choosing to rest in His faithfulness. If this time of prayer has brought peace to your heart tonight, I would love for you to share in the comments below what specific area of your life you are surrendering to God. Are you releasing financial stress, health concerns, relationship challenges, or perhaps career uncertainty? Your willingness to share might be exactly what someone else needs to hear, to know they are not alone in their struggles. If this prayer has been a blessing to you, would you please take a moment to hit the like button? Your simple click helps this message reach other people who might need to hear that they can find rest in God's care tonight. I also want to invite you to subscribe to this channel so you never miss these times of prayer and encouragement. When you subscribe, you become part of a community of believers who support each other through the challenges of life and celebrate together when God shows His faithfulness. Please consider sharing this video with someone in your life who might need this message tonight. Perhaps you know someone who has been carrying heavy burdens, struggling with sleep, or feeling overwhelmed by life's pressures. Your simple act of sharing could be the way God reaches out to touch their heart with His peace. Thank you for allowing me to join you in this sacred time of surrender tonight. Thank you for trusting me with your evening routine and for creating space in your day for connection with our Heavenly Father. May you sleep tonight with the confidence that comes from knowing you are deeply loved, carefully watched over, and held securely in hands that will never let you go. Sleep well, my dear friend. Rest in the knowledge that nothing is lost in God's hands, even while you sleep. Tomorrow is a new day, filled with new mercies, and you are not facing it alone. Amen.